All right, ladies and gents, I'm gonna show y'all, when you come right here, a little bit about touch sense when it comes to human design and this cognition. What you need to know about it. I have 14 tips for you that I'm getting ready to go break down. I don't know if you saw it yet, but touching food and touching the tacos really lets you know if the food was made with love. And one of the things I can tell, as for the information passed on with me with the food at least, that's my boy Jefe. I just call him Jefe. Asked him what his real name is. I know his real name, but from undisclosed locations, I leave it alone. You know that he really loves what he does, and he I don't forget what it's called here, gastronomia in Espanol. And wow, I'm excited to break this one down. So come stay tuned for touch sense and human design. And I have 14 different magical insights for you that I'm going to share today. So hit the likes and the thumbs up button, hit the subscription if you're brand new, and also leave down in the comments which sense, which cognition you have, whether it's touch, smell, inner vision. I look to go through them all, and based off of what I see down in the comments in the chats below, I'll make sure to spend a little extra time on the ones that you comment you have. And I'll see you soon. I'm excited. Okay, so these are city bikes here, and as you notice, I do have touch sense. I don't have gloves, right? So one of the things I've kind of noticed is that I kind of always go to one of the newer bikes. So if you look at this handle here with touch sense versus, let's say, this one, it's not actually super old, but you can kind of tell that this bike is just newer. And me being somebody living in a city, best case scenario, I have gloves, but by me not having gloves, when I touch this, I now receive information from pretty much everyone that has rode this bike. So you want to be very careful and mindful. I've been actually thinking about buying some gloves, not just for the bike, but for everything and interactions. But I want to kind of use it as a sample, where I wanted to kind of use this as an example where I'm in the city, so you can hear how loud it is. This motherfucker is loud right now. I'm in the middle of it. I forget how loud it is sometimes because my home is so quiet. But by me touching this bike, I completely blanked out. By me touching this bike, I'm a 5'1", right? I'm a 5'1" profile human design. And that 5 has that unconscious energy of the 2, which is the hermit. So I really can stay inside a lot. And I had a bike. My bike got stolen in the middle of the city at a cafe one day. And so instead of getting another one, I ended up getting the city bike. And what I learned is, as I really kind of detached from, you know, the bike being gone, it's like, okay, well, life, what are you trying to show me? And life was like, look, P, you hermit so much, I don't really step onto the city, but as a 5, the universal energy, I need to interact with people. I need to interact with life in the collective unconscious and the collective consciousness. And so it helps me with the bikes, for example, where everybody in the city touches this, right? And I don't know who, and I get information from these people, whether for better or for worse. Sometimes it'll send me through an emotion that I may not know consciously up front. It might send me through an emotion that is sad or depressed, or simultaneously I can feel completely joyful, excited about life, and have a certain vigor and feel motivated after being completely unmotivated if the person right prior or whoever was in that high vibrant energy. So when I'm kind of going through and I'm looking at the bikes, I do find, like, I'm going to explain in these 14 different benefits that touch can expand beyond the physical touch, and you can create a physical auric boundary that begins to help you understand what kind of information do you want to have exchanged before I even make contact. So stay tuned, hit the like and subscribe button. If you are looking for a human design reading, I don't just read human design, I read human design in combination with astrology. So understand that that's how I do the readings. Just understand that prior, astrology, human design, they're coming together, point blank period. They aren't separate to me. They are very much the same modality, and I read it like through one lens in combination. So if you're looking to do a reading, that reading is on my website. But let's get into deeper the 14 different things that I have written in my backpack. I just came from the cafe on this inspiration, and I'm gonna go ahead and tap them. 222 on screen, baby. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. This is your AstroShaman Pernell Bobby. I have a couple notes here with my agenda by Eileen the Mexican Bruja. I wrote some of that stuff in here. And we're talking about the cognition in human design called touch. All right. Number one that we're going to get right into is it shapes your environment, especially your physical environment. So the example that comes to mind, whether or not is the best or most appropriate, is imagine yourself having a sensual encounter and the lights are out. And let's say if I'm a male and my eyes are closed or the lights are dark, and I'm using my touch, my physical touch, to essentially increase the eroticism, increase the pleasure of the moment. Okay, it has the ability to shape your interactions when it comes to what pleasure you derive, right? Like the lights being out literally will enhance the physical touch, the physical sensations of my hands potentially caressing a female's body. That's one thing that kind of came to mind as for being able to shape the interactions. That's number one. Number two, I have here food insights as well as pleasure. So maybe you've seen the clip. When you're touching foods, it will give you a sense of pleasure. I find that in Asia, as well as, let's say I'm here in Mexico, a lot of foods you're eating are finger foods, foods you actually have to touch. So Western culture really kind of destroys a lot of that with forks and knives and utensils. And I find it funny when like I get like friends or like clients visit me from like out of the States, and they're like, there's so much food that they're touching, and the sensation and the enjoyment and the pleasure of the food intensifies tremendously, especially if you have physical touch. But not only that, the food will give you information, kind of how I explained earlier, where it can let you know if the food is really hazardous and like something you should stay away from, something you really don't want to digest. Or in retrospective, the food is really made with love and care and a tender, you know, touch that allow people and wants people to experience the textures of the food, the hot or the coldness of food, right? Bringing two different pleasures. Maybe it's lukewarm. And so physical foods, when you're touching them, they literally give you information. It also will help you, like me being in Mexico, dive into the culture of Mexico. So it extends beyond what I can physically touch, but it brings me through timelines of the foods of which I'm eating. So when I'm touching foods in Asia, I'm connecting to genetic timelines of people in Asia or in Mexico, you know, where some of the ancient eats, right? Let's say back to when the people would dig a hole and cook their food inside the ground. If the person cooking that food is linked to that culture, I forget exactly what it's called, so forgive me in a moment, then I really benefit from that. I touched this drink. This is made out of 3 ingredients. It's awesome. Guayaba, limon, and espinaca. Literally spinach, lemon, and guava fruit. And it's like my lips touching that. The drink going down, right? It's touching my physical skin, going down my throat. It lets me know, again, like, is this very natural? Do they add extra sugar? I could tell that they really use the natural sweeteners of the fruit from the guava, right? I can taste that. I even think the lemon as well. So, number 3, recognizing physical boundaries, right? Sex is one of the first ones that really kind of comes back to mind again. If you touch somebody and you feel alarmed, you feel like warning, right? That's somebody you probably don't want to engage in sexual intercourse with. If just touching them alone give you a sense of, you know, fear or insecurity or warning, probably should not engage with that person, right? With the physical boundaries. But these physical boundaries go beyond and outside of that. If somebody's, let's say you're getting into a fight or an argument with your partner, you want your partner, let's say if I have touch, to really respect my touch by setting the physical boundary and realizing, like, right now, you know, in this anger, and I do this with my partner, like if we're having a heated discussion, which doesn't really happen often, but if we are, that's time frames I'm like, I'm not, and let's say it's not even heated discussion. Let's just say she's going through, you know, some sort of manic or depressive episode. It's like, I don't want to touch you during that time frame because I know very clearly that, you know, her as an emotional generator, that energy transfers to me, right? And my solar plexus is open. So with it being open, I can really absorb any and all those emotions where she's accustomed to it. Her system is built for that. My system with the open center in the solar plexus, for example, really may not be the most beneficial. So this is number 3 that I have for you. But this also goes into the positive narratives where, you know, she's experiencing, or anybody that touches experiencing euphorism and enthusiasm and being very optimistic in the stages of life, and I happen to touch that person, that then also kind of fills and bleeds up into me. So, you know, with this, understand that sometimes like I'm generally an optimistic person, a very cheerful going person. Sometimes I need to touch somebody who may be going through some sadness, somebody who may be going through a phase in life where they're experiencing grief, because then that touch alone allows me to start to process grief from 5, 15, 10 years ago that maybe I didn't process yet. So don't just avoid it. So simple and clear as that, but also don't invite it if you feel like you shouldn't. You know, your physical boundaries, the touch I explained a little earlier, will kind of create an auric field even outside of you as you continue to develop this touch sense in human design for your cognition. I don't have to physically touch you to know, oh wow, like this is a warning. All right. Okay, number 4 I have here, your physical identity and gaining insights from that. All right. Right now, the identity is oftentimes linked with the face. Me touching my face and actually understanding that I have a little stubs. Like, it may look clean on camera, maybe it doesn't, I don't know. But I have a little stubs. It kind of lets me know that, like, right now, I'm just in a go-getter mentality. Like right now, like I'm just like, look, like, you know, I'm freshly clean enough to be outside and presentable to, you know, support my Libra, my Leo traits, who wants to be presentable among other people. But this touch kind of lets me know that, like, right now, the external appearance doesn't matter so much to me. It lets me know that in this stage of my life, like, being pure and authentic about everything I do when I do it is most important. So, like, just me touching my face alone, for example, when I look at number 4 as physical identity insights, but as well as, like, if I'm touching my chest, it lets me know, like, okay, from high school when you used to first start doing bench press and push-ups until now, like, what has shaped within my identity and my personality. And it lets me know, once again, like, okay, when I do that, I used to really care and use having a bigger chest as a threat to people, because I was shorter in high school. Everybody else was, like, in high school, like 6 feet plus, and I was a shorter guy, and, like, having muscles, like, made me feel safer. But that also expressed and helps me understand some parts of my insecurity at that time frame as well, right? Versus now, where my body is way more flexible, and me touching my body, I can really get a sense of, like, how much I've matured and developed from a self-esteem standpoint, from an internal authority and confidence within myself. And that actually links and relates to touch. So number 5 I have on the list, touch can really enhance your self-esteem. So the example I have for this is the time that I take in the morning when I get out of the shower and at night to use olive oil along with as a carrier oil for, if I want to have a bright day, I might be using naranja, which is like orange, right? Like orange oil, orange peel. Or at nighttime, sometimes I may find myself using lavender in my head, and just touching my head, and kind of it you know, really links into self-esteem, it links into security, it links into, with the lavender, let's say, bringing myself a sense of calm, bringing myself understanding about what has happened throughout the day. Purple is an energy that can transmute low-level frequencies like hate, anger, and jealousy. I may wear helichrystum if I know I'm going through in the daytime some envy, and somebody may be envying me. I may use helichrystum because on the physical body, it starts to repel some of these, again, low-level frequencies from the solar plexus chakra, like envy, and I may wear that, and it really helps with my sense of security, my sense of I know that I'm going outside in a world where I am protected in my auric field, especially, like I said, again, as a 5-1. I'm a 5-1 profile, and, like, I have that auric field I'm getting projected on all day long. So that touch, and giving that touch to myself, Even if it comes down to like, oh wow, like I'm feeling my body and I'm like, oh, you know, like my ass is feeling good, like yeah, them squats is working out, you feel me? Like, oh, look at my abs, like feeling my abs, like damn, like, you know, I'm really doing well with my eating habits compared to 5 months ago when I was going through X, Y, and Z, right? This is a great way to kind of use touch to really get in tune with your self-esteem and build that confidence at an internal level. Number 6, it is a powerful communicator, especially with intimacy, as well as like building and creating intimacy with a lover, a partner, or even a friend, or even an associate. The right touch at the right moment can help me really feel what the person is feeling. So in retrospect, you also need to be, very mindful of touching people who, you know, as you develop this touch sense and cognition in human design, that man, if I touch this person, like I'm gonna be going through a world of trouble. Like, you know, maybe you don't want to feel the, you know, you don't want it. You're not in a stage where you can afford to be so physically empathetic rather than empathetic from a distance, right? And so your touch sense will help you understand, like, do I just avoid touching this person right now, or you know, can my touch actually soothe them and I have a cup that is overflowing and I can afford to do that? So really it can also help with just building intimacy, right? With a lover, let's say. You know, having the person, you might not always need to say something. The person can be telling you about their day, like, man, like I went through today and I got a raise at work, and then that raise just like, you know, really made me feel like I can really work as an entrepreneur, working on YouTube, and start talking about dragons and human design and astrology. Look at this little, look at this. I could touch that animal and get information from her. I think it's a her, but I'm not going to. But she looks like she's gonna touch me. She's all up under my chair. Hey, baby girl, I don't have any food for you. She looks like she wants food. Okay, so, wow, nice little beautiful experience. Let me kind of zoom back in here. So that's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So again, it's a powerful communicator. Like I can in that moment to congratulate my partner or anybody with a simple touch, and that touch can then let them know that, look, I appreciate you for telling me the story. I really care about your developments at work or within your social life and the advancements that you may be going through with your emotional development. That touch, I don't have to say anything. I could touch that person and go, And that touch can really communicate more than what I can verbalize. So touch is a great intimacy builder for people with this cognition. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so number 7, this can also now be, and let's say we're talking relationships, touch number 7 could be really about reconciliation, as well as, like, I kind of wanted to use that heated argument from earlier. Like, let's say you and somebody you care about have been going through a rough 3-4 days, and it seems like, you know, those points in a relationship or a discussion where words really won't cut it. Sometimes touch can be that significator of like, look, you know, I forgive myself in this process. You could touch yourself and help in, you know, in the heart space and kind of rub and be like, look, like, you know what, I forgive you. You know, I'm sorry for what we experienced and for my decisions and for crossing my own personal boundaries. I forgive myself. I love myself. And that touch can really communicate that frequency of love better than I can verbally communicate it. So if you're somebody who may not be a master or wordsmith, you know, with the gift of gab, who can, like, you know, speak what they feel, you can touch the person with this cognition and people can understand. They're like, wow, that was really sincere, right? So it can really be a great reconciliation tool, an asset, an ability to use in the right circumstances. Number 8, touch really works into arts, cooking, and gardening, and other things like that. When you're doing art, I know when I'm painting, for example, I like to have the paint on my hands. It allows me to get more deeply in tune with my emotions and the colors that seem to make it on my pants. I think right here, I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. It's kind of near my John, but I have orange right here. So, you know, that paint kind of just touching it. I know it's not necessarily my skin, but let's say that I kind of, again, this auric field expands outside of what you can physically touch. And the fact that orange is literally near my genitals, and the genitals are the sacral chakra or the sexual chakra, the Swadhisthana, it really tells me a lot about really reinvigorating my inner child, right? Or gardening. When I touch my plants, it lets me know like, yo, but when I'm trying to intellectualize, does my plant need more water? Is my plant overwatered? It gets really confusing for me. But when I just touched a plant and I like, you know, one of my plants got really sad. I was like, what the hell's going on with you? Like, talk to me, baby girl. And I had to touch her. And eventually she told me like, I'm dehydrated, but the water you're watering me from the top is not getting it to me. I need to water myself from the bottom. And she communicated that with me. And I started watering her from the bottom. And now, boom, she's back to life like nothing ever happened. Bam, baby. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is still number 8, and I want to talk about cooking. Like when I'm touching things, I'm the type of person where I'm cooking and I like to dig in a bag and kind of salt things like this. I like to use pepper like this. You know, when I'm toasting bread manually, let's say, if I touch the bread, I understand like, do I want more? Do I want less? If I'm cooking, you know, I kind of touch a piece of the noodle. You know, you eat the noodle, it's like, wow, the noodle is done. So touch can give you a lot of information about the readiness and the preparation of food, but also you can gain information from food, which I kind of gave as an example earlier from a cultural standpoint. If I eat Mexican food and touch that, if I eat, you know, Caesarean food or, you know, Italian or this, I can gain information from these pieces of foods. So now here we go with number 9. Number 9 really works in coordination. It works in like sports. Ooh, I got hit in the thigh. Sports. Sagittarius is the thigh. Sports. And mind you, again, if you're enjoying this video, hit the thumbs up, hit the likes button, ladies and gentlemen. Subscribe if you're brand new. If you want a human design reading, I think I mentioned it a little bit earlier. I don't do human design by itself. I do human design combined with astrology. I know both very, very well. This is your AstroShaman Pernell Bobby, generating an economy of harmony. Okay, that's our membership. Leveraging human design and genetic astrology. I consider myself mostly a genetic astrologist. Really working deep in gene keys, working deep in human design, working deep in astrology, in many facets of astrology, whether sidereal, tropical, Placidus, Vedic, the whole 9. So, all right, number 9, really improving. It works really well in sports. When you touch the ball, when you're doing suicides and you're kind of running, touching the line, touching the grass, it helps with your coordination, helps you understand where you're disbalanced, where I can then begin to work on my hips or in my shoulder. And you know, the body works in an X-like fashion on axis. So it's like my left shoulder hurts, but I really know that it's a problem in my right hip, aka working in an X from the hip to the shoulder on the left, on the right hip specifically. So touch can really help me when I do things like myofascial release, for example. I can now understand that like, oh, I touched this knot in my thigh, which I have like a permanent like cyst in my thigh. I know, wow, I know the roots of this cyst, and this cyst works in understanding of like, you know, when somebody is looking to work against your integrity, they're working against literally your integrity, especially in a workspace or whatever space it's about, right? So Sagittarius, then I would then refer to Sagittarius in my chart. So when I'm working with healing with people, you know, I can touch a person and literally work through and heal with them. Wow, look at that. Got to leave, hit the phone. Bam, that's you, baby. That's you trying to get that reading. So, but, you know, it can really work with coordination and balance and stuff in sports and help you understand where are the disbalances. Number 10, texture, guidance, and decisions. Okay, boom. So texture guidance. When you're making decisions, let's say I'm looking to buy a piece of furniture, or like I went to buy like a tablecloth for my table, and it lets me know like, man, this fabric is just, I do a lot of magic, and I'm like, man, one of these days I'm gonna burn right through this cloth and it's gonna burn my table. So I need a cloth that is fire and flame resistant. Touching that material lets me know like, okay, look, not only is this fire and flame resistant, but I can easily wipe this surface off and it'll keep my table fresh and last without having to really buy a new table, right? So touching fabrics can help you make decisions in the store. Touching a backpack. When I buy a backpack, it let me know like, is this good quality? Is this good material? Will this last? And you know, I bought this backpack almost 4 years ago in Medellin, Colombia, baby. Salsa. So, you know, touching texture guidance really helps you making decisions on what to buy, what not to buy, what will last, what won't last, what's flimsy, what's not. It can help you understand the integrity of what you're touching, all right? So number 11, it can really shape your experiences. I can be here in the park and me touching, let's say if I touch that geese, can really help shape my experience. If I touch this tree behind me, it can really shape my experience of my day in the park, and it can really bring me to like understanding that this experience was a very calming experience. Also that the things I'm touching, this table right now that I'm sitting at, it's like telling me like, look P, maybe you really want to start doing some more videos here, because I really get a good feeling and vibe, and I feel like I could talk freely. I hear the water in the background, and just touching the things around me, as well as allowing my auric field to be touched by the nature that's surrounding me right here and right now, lets me know that like this is a great place to record videos. So it's really helping to shape my experience and making me want to kind of do it again. So that was number 11. Number 12, touch can really warn you. Okay, it can warn you about danger. Earlier today, for example, I had a guy come up to me. He was like, wow, your aura is just golden. He was like, you have, he said Jamaica. He said you have a very long line of powerful ancestors linking back to Jamaica. And he was just like, I just want to come over here and say like, you know, wow, thank you. I'm glad to have met you. And I was like, thank you. And then he kind of went like this, and I looked at his hand, and in his hand, he had a ring, actually, funny thing, on this pinky. And it was a dragon's eye, and it was a yellow dragon's eye. But when I looked at his hand, I looked directly into the eye of the dragon, and it warned me. It was like, Pernell, don't you dare touch this He is here to zap your energy, point blank, period. Now, in your earlier stage of my life, I might have touched him thinking like, oh, that's awesome, like, you know, dap, give him dap. And I didn't. Part of it, having these bells, okay, on my hands, as well as the evil eyes, 7 different chakra color evil eyes, really helps me, and it let me know like, nope, warning, 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 P. You touch this person, you will feel zapped. It's yellow, your ambition that you have today. You know, your desire to go out there and get it. Your desire to also learn when and how to flex and to create from the heart space is really much in danger. This guy wants to absorb and suck your energy. So warnings, touch can give you warnings about people, about places. You know, you can get ready to walk into a house that may on the outside look very beautiful, and let's say you touch the doorknob handle, that handle may very well tell you, turn around, don't step another foot into this house. There are a lot of evil spirits and bad things and entities in this house. Walk away. I've touched and I kind of knew it. I was at a sacred burial site in Oaxaca, where literally is exactly what I said. I was at a sacred burial site, and it was a thriving economy at one point in history, long ago. The tribe was completely demolished. They completely annihilated them. They're gone. They're dead. But they had a lot of ancient rocks, and you still could see some of the dungeons. And so if I touch that dungeon gate, for example, I now get past life information about what the slavery and the prisons were like at that particular grave site slash thriving community. It was a little bit of both. They were doing more like sacramental burials. But at one point, I was kind of like touching a lot of stuff there. I put my feet in the dirt, and putting my feet in the ground really allowed me to kind of really respect the culture and gain wisdom and insight. And I feel like I went through a tremendous let's say cosmic upload on the Uranian level of consciousness from those people, and I learned really to respect them. I took a lot of time walking with my bare feet on the ground, and it pretty much was just ground. Like, it looked like it was a desert. You very rarely saw anything because a lot of it was destroyed. But at one point, right before I left the park, I was like laughing. I was with my partner. I was laughing, and I just touched a tablet a little irresponsibly. And right before I touched it, my partner said she saw it. And I touched it, and that thing zapped me, I swear to God. And I was like, it really taught me like to be mindful and don't play with certain things, because I really went up to it with like a little innocent childlike mentality, like you know, because I felt a lot of energy from everything in this area that I was at. But the gods of those people did not like how, I don't want to say disrespected, but just didn't stay mindful 100% all the way through. And it really gave me a licking. I promise you, for like 4 or 5 days, I was out of it. I was completely discombobulated. I was dizzy. I was like sick. I had headaches, migraines. I took on way too much in all the wrong ways. Okay, number 13 that I have here: spiritual growth, healing, So number 13, spiritual growth and healing. Touch. My hands. I just know that, like, if I look into Vedic astrology, for example, I know some of my placements where I'm a healer of the gods. So literally, like, other gods in walking form, human form, or otherly forms, right? I have the ability to manipulate emotional and spiritual blockages and pains if I give somebody a massage. Another way you can look at this is Tai Chi, and being able to move the energy, move the physical energy through my body. So I'm only really, in this moment, I'm touching ether, right? And this is not me really doing Tai Chi, but I'm trying to give an example of Qigong. I'm moving the etheric energy throughout my body as well as in my environment. So I can sit there and very quickly and easily cast away negative energy, draining my environment with my hands. I can download the energy, and notice I'm not touching something physical anymore. I'm literally manipulating the spatial energy around me. That also can work without me touching my head and doing Reiki, for example, and I can then pull negative thoughts directly out of my head and send them either back down to the earth or send it up, whatever, it doesn't matter. So spiritual growth as well as healing through Tai Chi. This can also step outside of the mystical spaces and go into dancing. You know, dancing is a very spiritual activity, right? It has a tremendous amount of healing powers to dance. When you dance, you liberate the soul. The soul very clearly understands. So you're touching that other partner, you and that person that you're dancing with, you're liberating each other, or you are binding yourself to that person. You are locking and castrating yourself away from some of your potency and energy. Let's say, like, when I was growing up, we used to grind, right? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm talking like you be on somebody and you be like, hey, and you got the woman's booty on you, and you, hey, and you backing her over, and you're whining, you grinding, right? So you can also, through that touch, inhibit your spiritual growth by connecting with an energy and their sexual energy as well, right? So it can go either way. You can heal and you can disrupt. Now the final, and number 14, I have mystical experiences and information. Kind of gave you an example with that. Number 14 with the tablet, touching the tablet. Also gave you an example with that, with manipulating the spatial energy around me, moving negative energy out of my atmospheric space, or positively moving trapped emotions in my body through Qigong and Tai Chi, right? Whatever it is. I'm trying to think of other mystical experiences that touch can relate us to. One of the beautiful ones is gaining information from the tree. Like you see this tree here, I can gain information from the tree. It can help me send thoughts up to heaven and bring them back down, or receive thoughts from heaven and bring them down into my body as well, like Hierophant type energy. I'm trying to think what else. I don't know exactly what I meant when I first said mystical experience. I think I kind of already covered it a little bit through the last one, through like massage and stuff like that. So what I want to say now is hit the thumbs up or the likes button, drop your cognition down below, whether it's touch, whether it's smell, inner vision, feeling, cognition. I want to hear from you what you have. If you have touch, I want to hear from your personal experiences. If you have touch on this particular video, and if you don't have touch, I want to hear from what cognition you have in human design. This is your AstroShaman Pernell Bobby, generating an economy of harmony, leveraging human design and genetic astrology. We're running memberships where we're talking about everything I said and so much more through astrology. We're doing a lot of these movement practice that I spoke about, helping us to heal at the spiritual level and bringing the spiritual healing into the physical realms of reality. I'm teaching people how to do this, whether through breath work, through movement, as well as understanding your astrological placements, as well as how to operate your astrological placements through your human design. And they really link into one thing for me, giving out organic remedies. I'm spending more time building resources about organic remedies. So if you want to work with me on a one-on-one base, I have a human design astrology reading out there. So go ahead and check that. Check me one-on-one. I'm gonna get you right. I mean, that reading for me is an hour and 45 minutes, sometimes 2 hours. That's the highest, the longest reading that I do, because astrology and human design are two different modalities that takes time to help you understand one, depending on where your personal level is at. I can work with you whether you're a beginner, in the middle, or advanced. It's just what I know at this point. And so I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for hitting the thumbs up and the likes button. This was a true joy to come out here and do this. I felt like I wanted to do this for a very long time, but I am who I am, and I'm very slow to create, but I create when I'm ready. So I want to say thank you for being here. Thank you for hitting the subscription. If you made it to the end of this video, drop which cognition you have down below. If you don't know, tell me you don't know, and I can help you find that resource. Help us out in the comments with the algorithm. Let us know, drop something. Let us know, drop something, and help YouTube find this video and get out there, ladies and gentlemen. I love y'all. See you soon.